is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. All aboard, the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. Well, he said, "Are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "And this is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. Ever since the movie came out, I always think about Tom Hanks. It's just like the movie. I enjoyed the movie, and so now I'm gonna be like reading this in my mind in Tom Hanks' voice. Okay. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols, ate candies with nut centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the light of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. I love this scene, and I know that there's somewhere in the world where, at one point, like, you were able to go, like, on the Polar Express. I'm not actually sure where it took you, but I think they offered things like hot cocoa, and it was, like, this thing that you could do, which I thought was really cool. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We have traveled through cold and dark forest, where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. I'm sorry if you can hear noises from like outside of my room. My mom's making dinner, so I'm not sure how much of that noise is carrying onto my microphone. My mom's actually making chicken and pasta, so I'm actually really excited to eat dinner. So I'm having trouble picking up this page here. There we go. Okay. We climbed mountains so high it seems as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. I just love this image. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah